Good morning. This is the second in our series of vignettes, which we're presenting to the voters to help understand and discuss issues. Last time we talked about the lawsuit we have to try to strike down the law which allows the NRA to sue everybody. Today we're going to be talking about minimum wage, and we're kind of trying to come up with a theme for this ongoing series, which again, you can watch one at a time or you can binge watch on a Saturday afternoon. And we decided on Donuts with Daylin. We feel like it's homey and it gives people a feeling that they're going to eat something, which they're not. We're probably going to use this donut throughout the series, so we can watch the evolution of this donut as well. So enjoy that and enjoy this. Today we're going to be talking about the minimum wage and what my bill does. I have a bill to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and tie it to inflation, so we don't have to have these arguments every few years and the minimum wage doesn't atrophy, and to eliminate the tip minimum wage. And let me talk about why both of these things are important. First of all, people say, well, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, that's an awfully big jump from $7.25 an hour. And it is a big jump. But the reason the jump is justified is because we haven't had any jumps for so long. The minimum wage has only been raised one time in the last 16 years, and not very much. In the same period of time, CEO pay has doubled, but the pay of people in the lowest 20% of income has actually gone down. That's not sustainable, it's not fair, it's not good for the economy, it's not good for the country. So we got to give people a living wage. This is part of a movement called Fight for 15, and we see it happening around the country. Just a few days ago, Los Angeles voted to increase their minimum wage to $15 an hour. They're joining Seattle and a number of other cities who have done this. And we should do it at the state level. It does a number of things. First of all, it lifts many people in Pennsylvania, hundreds of thousands of people out of poverty. The current minimum wage, $7.25 an hour, is significantly below the poverty level. That's just wrong. People who work 40 hours a week at back-breaking jobs shouldn't be living in poverty where they can't even provide the basics for their kids and for their family. And so this would lift people out of poverty. It would also stimulate the economy. One of the things that, one of the reasons the minimum wage does not cause, as some people like to claim it does, historically, an increase in unemployment is because it increases demand. And we are a demand-driven economy. Our economy does well when people want to buy products. And when you give an extra, chunk of money to people like Bill Gates, who already have all the money they can possibly use, they can't spend it. It doesn't go back into the economy. There's only one pair of pants you can wear at a time, even if you wear really nice pants. So whereas if you're on the bottom 20% and you get a raise, you almost have to spend that money just to buy the basics of life. So that money gets pumped back into the economy and creates the demand for products. One of the things that Henry Ford said, I was not a big fan of Henry Ford on a number of issues having to do with anti-Semitism, but the one thing that he said that was really wise was, I want to pay my workers enough so they can afford to buy my cars. And that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that people are able to support themselves. And this increases the demand for products, improves the economy. The other thing we have to do is get rid of the tip minimum wage. For people to understand that's a minimum wage that's well below the already pathetically low national minimum wage. The national tip minimum wage for workers who theoretically get tips is $2.13 an hour. It has not gone up in 21 years. In Pennsylvania, it's $2.83 an hour. 20% of the time for tip workers, they can be made to do work that isn't even tippable. That is just human exploitation. That's starvation wages, and it's wrong. Now, if you're working as a waiter, let's say at the Four Seasons, you're going to be doing fine because you get a lot of tips working at the Four Seasons. But if you're working at Applebee's, if you're working at IHOP, often these people, and I've spoken to them, they don't even make the $7.25 an hour minimum wage. They're coming home with $4 or $5 an hour, which is, again, it's just wrong. And so what we need to do is what they've done again in a number of other cities and states around the country, not only raise the tip minimum wage, but eliminate it. You should not, if you hire an employee, be able to outsource paying that employee. You should have to pay that employee, not turn it over to some other person who has a voluntary obligation to pay that employee may or may not. I talked to one woman who was a server at a restaurant who said sometimes she's sexually harassed at work. But she has a choice. She can complain about it and not get paid that night because the person won't tip her, or she could just accept it and get paid. People should not be put in that position. And so we need to eliminate the tip minimum wage and raise the minimum wage to a livable amount, tie it to inflation. So this is not something we have to keep arguing about. If we do that, this is going to have an enormous benefit, not only for the individuals involved, but across the economy. Finally, people say, well, what if a business can't afford it? It's interesting. If a restaurant owner wants to someone wants to open a restaurant, and they have to buy a refrigerator, and let's say the refrigerator costs $10,000, they can't go to the refrigerator company and say, I know you need $10,000 for your refrigerator in order to make a profit and survive, but my business model only involves paying you $7,000. Sorry, that's not going to work. You're not going to get your refrigerator. It's only human beings that we say, we don't care what you need to survive. My business model only involves paying you enough, not even enough to support your family. That's not acceptable. Human beings, like every other thing that you have to pay for, should be based on what you need in order to survive. And my position has always been, if your business model depends on paying your workers starvation wages, we don't want your jobs here. Take your jobs to Texas, where they have the most starvation level jobs in the country. That's not the economy we want to build. We want to build an economy that works for everybody. So we're working hard to get this bill moving. We think as part of the budget there will be an increase in the minimum wage. Some people are talking about smaller increases, $10.10 an hour, something like that. But I think we need to be more ambitious. Again, some of the other places around the country are. We can do better for the workers of Pennsylvania than $10.10. We can get them up to a livable wage, and that's what I'm going to be fighting for. So we'll hope to see you in a couple weeks when we'll be having another one of these little sessions. I'm guessing the donut may look a little different then, and we'll enjoy seeing what that's like. Thank you so much, and have a great day, everybody.